Tim, I'm doing some work on communication technologies for social change, and you're working with young people with social media. What's your on-the-ground experience of what they're using and what works?
So I guess young people are picking up and using a whole range of tools. We're not seeing them on Twitter yet. Really interesting today seeing people's predictions that maybe that's what's coming in 2009. But the social network sites, the YouTube sites, are the real spaces young people are spending time in. And communicating with peer groups. A lot of what I've been doing is exploring how does that impact on professionals who work with young people. And I think there's two stories emerging. One's already emerging, which is there's a massive skill development need for professionals working in this new environment. Not techie training, but just helping them work out how do they apply their professional skills to a new setting. And how do we develop the training models that aren't based on showing you a communications tool, teaching you functionally how to use it, and then having to retrain you a year down the line when the new tool emerges, but are really about getting people to be more reflective learners, and it does involve a challenge to help people learn about this stuff. The other story that is just starting to emerge is all around social network site applications, which is these spaces young people are using. Social media spaces are great, but actually they don't do what we need to do to interact and provide services, provide support. So maybe we do need to say, let's use them as a platform to build on top of, to build our application, or just if you're a youth worker trying to interact with young people on all the different sites and spaces they're using, we need tools that help you manage that, products that help you say at a glance what's been going on MySpace, Facebook, Bebo, High Five, Orkut, Vampire Freaks, DeviantArt, all these networks where the young people I'm working with are and have given me permission to interact with them. How can I manage that? And what are those tools, that the products that the market isn't providing just yet?
So if social change is partly about helping people feel more confident, about advocacy, about organising in groups, challenging institutions, those are all ways of doing things and tools which, as I think you're saying, aren't reach me down from Facebook.
So that was quite an institutional story I've just told, which is about how do services interact in this space. When it's about equipping young people to campaign, to do new stuff, there is a role for helping young people realise they can use these tools to create change. There's a real role to do audience development work, which is to say there's amazing videos out there telling us what's wrong with our local societies, with our schools, with our youth services. There's a real role for someone helping bridge that, so the counsellor's watching that. And so it's often at the audience end, at the decision maker end, that we need to do the work and develop listening tools, develop real platforms there. The other one is really social justice focused and social change focused. Is we do see social network spaces, online social media spaces can fragment, can be this group talking over here, this group talking over here. What are the tools, what are the techniques, what are the approaches that help us get those groups bridge talking together when one's in a Facebook group, one's on the page of a Bebo profile, one's discussing on a YouTube video? We don't want to mash those in together and lose their uniqueness because they're happening in different spaces for a good reason. But at the same time, we do want to help people bring those conversations together. It's events like this, it's the Twitters, the social networking tools that break down boundaries that are the most powerful for creating social change, and often young people may be in quite boundaried spaces.
Right, so backtracking slightly what I said there, that yes, there are lots of ways that you can use social network platforms for campaigning and so forth, but they don't go all the way in terms of what you want and don't necessarily do the joining up. And in order to, how easy is it to do that with lightweight tools, or do you then get into having to develop any new stuff or not?
And I don't think we know the answer. I know to do it with the tools that are just there on the social network sites is resource intensive. It involves a person committing time to doing that. No more time than it would take to work with those groups face to face. In fact, a lot less time. So groups we're working with in Devon saying we can reach young people across this whole county, when previously we worked with 40 who could make it to Exeter Town Hall. So it's people intensive. I think there are tools we could find to make it easier, either ones that are just out there already, or maybe building some of our own, because social network sites are built to make money. They're not built to support people to create social change when we go to the mainstream spaces. There are good spaces out there, so either we need to get more people into the spaces designed for change, or get more features designed for change into the spaces people are using.
But as you were also saying, there's not a lot of point shouting if nobody's listening. So how, on the institutional front, do you help, support, encourage that listening? Is the appetite there?
Yes, I think there is an appetite there. I think there's a fear. There's a recognition we should listen to young people. We can't improve services if we don't. But there's a communication barrier with people not always suspending their response to what appears to be bad grammar or presentation to get to the content. So there's both making sure the right content in front of the right person and working with that person to make sure they know how to listen, because often they don't know how to listen to groups of young people. And again, it's this whole thing. It's not a technology problem. It's a communication problem or challenge, and we can overcome those challenges with good skill building and communication building work.
And just finally, are there any particular areas on the services front, perhaps, where you're finding that from both sides or both points of view that it's easiest to make progress?
That's interesting. Youth engagement work, workers going out, engaging with young people, having conversations, being a bridge to start with, and then bringing them directly into contact with decision makers, and then getting young people to realise actually a lot of the time they don't need the decision makers, they just get the cash and they innovate on their own and create change on their own. Lots of good examples of that working because they're based around people with real skills in doing that, and young people with with a passion for change, and when that passion's fostered, we see great stuff happening.